just past midnight. The boys' dormitory was quiet, a Sabbath stillness blanketing the hall. No one stirred, no one screamed. But in one small room, something terrible had already happened. A window stood wide open to the cold November air. On the floor lay a teenage boy, motionless, brutally struck in his sleep. Beside him, a single candle burned. To this day, no one knows who slipped into that room or why. This is the unsolved murder of Chaim Weiss. Welcome to Whisper and Dread. Chaim Weiss was just 15 years old, the youngest child in a large Orthodox Jewish family, living in Staten Island, New York. By all accounts, he was bright, kind, and well-liked. In 1986, he was studying at the yeshiva of Long Beech, a private religious school on East Beech Street in Long Island. Chaim was a sophomore, known for his intelligence and for a sense of humor that set him apart from the other students. That fall, the dormitory was full. Dozens of boys packed into rooms across 3 floors. But unlike most students, Chaim had a private room on the 3rd floor. It was seen as a privilege, or perhaps an accommodation for his personality. On October 31st, Halloween night, Chaim spent the evening as many students did, studying and chatting with friends. He stayed up late with another boy, poring over texts and talking until nearly 1 in the morning. Then he retreated to his solitary room to sleep. It was the last time anyone ever saw him alive. The next morning, November 1st, the yeshiva gathered for Sabbath prayers. Chaim, always dependable, was missing. At first, his absence was brushed off. Perhaps he overslept. But when he failed to appear, even after prayers ended, concern grew. A dorm counselor went upstairs to check on him. The door to Chaim's room stood ajar. Inside, the air was icy cold, the window thrown wide open to the November chill. On the floor, next to his bed, lay Chaim. His skull had been shattered by a heavy, hatchet-like object. The blow had crushed bone and damaged his spine. Investigators later concluded that he had been struck while sleeping, then moved from his bed to the floor. There were no signs of forced entry, no robbery, no struggle. And in a dorm packed with teenage boys, no one claimed to have heard a thing. Then came the strangest details. A single candle, still flickering in the room. The wide open window, letting in the night air. And on his body, no defensive wounds at all. Chaim had died in silence. Detectives faced a chilling puzzle. How had someone entered a locked dormitory, killed a boy in his bed, and slipped away unseen? One possibility. The killer wasn't an outsider at all. The yeshiva was tightly secured. Every door was monitored. Only someone who lived or worked there would have known the layout and how to move silently through its halls. Then there was the window. Some speculated it was ritual. In certain Jewish traditions, windows are opened after a death to allow the soul to depart. But who would think to do that? A fellow student? A teacher? Or someone staging the scene with symbolic purpose? Forensic teams recovered one possible clue: a single strand of hair not belonging to Chaim. It was preserved, but in 1986, DNA testing was primitive. Decades later, the hair has never been matched. Someone, somewhere, knows who left it behind. As days turned to weeks, suspicion fell inward. Investigators interviewed over 100 students, rabbis, and staff. But answers were elusive. The boys, frightened, had little to say. Many in the community were reluctant to cooperate fully with secular police, wary of outsiders probing their world. Still, fragments of rumor leaked. Some students whispered that Chaim had been summoned months earlier to a private meeting with the school principal in Brooklyn. He returned shaken, but refused to say what was discussed. Could that meeting hold a clue? No one knows. Detectives considered theories. Was Chaim targeted by another student, perhaps jealous of his intelligence or his private room? Was it personal, a vendetta from someone older? Or was it something much darker, ritualistic, staged to appear as if part of an ancient custom? No theory was ever proven. In 1987, with no suspect and little cooperation, the case began to fade from headlines. Chaim's family, devastated, continued to press for answers. They pleaded for justice, insisting someone inside that dormitory must know the truth. Years passed. The building was renovated. Students graduated. The silence endured. In 2013, nearly 3 decades later, Nassau County Police reopened the case. Former students were re-interviewed. Rewards were offered. DNA from that single strand of hair was tested again with modern techniques. Still, no match. To this day, investigators privately admit they believe the killer was connected to the yeshiva. Someone who blended in, someone the boys trusted. But without cooperation, without a confession or DNA breakthrough, the truth remains locked behind closed lips. Chaim Weiss should have grown up, married, built a life in the community he loved. Instead, he is remembered only as a 15-year-old boy, taken violently from his bed. The open window still lingers in memory, a chilling image. Was it respect, ritual, or a taunt from a killer who knew he'd never be caught? Nearly 40 years later, the Weiss family still waits. The community still whispers. And that dormitory room on East Beech Street still carries a haunting silence. One truth is certain: someone out there knows. And for now, they have chosen silence over justice. But silence cannot erase the memory of Chaim Weiss. If you have any information about the murder of Chaim Weiss, contact the Nassau County Police Department. Even decades later, justice is possible. Next week on Whisper and Dread, we turn to another unsolved Halloween mystery: the disappearance of Cindy Song, a Penn State student who vanished after a Halloween party, still in her costume. Join us as we walk into the shadows once again. Share your thoughts in the comments below and let your whisper join ours. And remember, the quietest voices often tell the loudest truths. Until next time, curious whisperer, this has been Whisper and Dread.